Hello, everybody, and good night. So on this video, I wanna talk about the pivot tables that we started in the class, and I'm just gonna um finish these ones. So for the pivot table, the first thing you need to do is to select your data set or the raw data that you have. Oops, make sure that you select everything. And you also want to select the titles. So I'm recording this video on a MacBook. Some of the icons might be slightly different from a Windows computer, but there's not much difference. So the first thing I want to do after selecting my table is that I'm going to go to the Insert tab and click on the table icon. And in this space, I have the address of my table. Gonna press OK. And then on the tables tab, then on the tables tab, I can change the name of my table or not. If you didn't change the name, it would probably be table 1. So if you couldn't remember how to change the name, just use table 1. Now, so we have our data set saved and sorted in data set, which is the name of our table. So now we are ready to create our pivot tables. So I'm gonna click somewhere on my table. Go to Insert and click on a pivot table. And I'm just gonna leave it here on this existing sheet. So I'm gonna put it somewhere around here. So, okay, let's see what do we have here. So on my table, I have on the rows, I have regions. So I'm gonna drag regions to the rows, and on the columns, I have months. So I'm gonna drag months to the columns. Then then the values, which you can see here, are count of items. So I'm gonna drag item to the values part. And just wanna double check if everything is sorted. I need to change the titles here and month. Sometimes in my screenshots, I might not have the titles, which is fine. Feel free to have the title or leave it as is. It won't, you wouldn't lose any points. Just to have it similar to mine with no titles. Okay, let's move to question 2. Going to insert a pivot table. Let's put it on the existing worksheet and place it somewhere around here. Okay, so for this question, we want actual price on every row. So that's exactly what we want to do. Drag actual price to the rows. Now what happens is that it puts every price inside one row, but we want it to be sorted in groups or intervals or bins. So I'm gonna right click on one of my numbers here, and from the drop-down menu, click on group. Now here, let's look at your first interval. First interval is starting at 8. The last one is ending at 1007. And the length of every interval is 100. So this by should be 100. Double check. Everything seems to be fine. Now for the values, we have count of actual price. I'm dragging my actual price to the values, and the default is count, so we are all good. So let's only change this to actual price, or just try to do that with no typos, which is not my strong suit. So let's replicate the next table. Press insert, pivot table, existing worksheet. Let's place it right here. Oh, for the previous one, we also need to create a histogram. Sorry about that. Click on your pivot table, go to pivot table analyze tab. And from there, you want to click on a pivot chart. So now it just created this pivot chart for us. Now, what I want to do is I want to make this look like a histogram. So I'm going to click on one of the columns, reduce the gap. Now it looks more like a histogram. And you see how in my screenshot, I have this kind of like drop-down menu options. It's a bit different in Mac, and it doesn't give you those options. Maybe there are some settings somewhere, but I don't really know what they are. So if when you're doing it in the window, it's going to automatically do that. So no need to worry about it. Okay, so next question. Let's click on our table somewhere. Again, another pivot table, existing worksheet. Let's place it here. Press OK. I think I should zoom in a bit. Oh, wow, much better. So here we want the items. So the fields are not showing. So I'm going to click on the pivot table, and from the right-hand side, I'm going to click on pivot table fields. And again, if you couldn't find them, they should be in the pivot table analyze part, analyze tab. It's going to be this one. Removes, adds, just like that. So I'm gonna need items on the rows and months on the columns. For the values, we have average of list price. First, just let's bring list price to the values. And then this is what I want to do. We want average. We don't want sum. So I'm gonna click right click on sum of the list price, and from drop down menu we are going to the field settings, and right now we are looking at sum. We should select average. Now it's showing average. So there are also filters in this question. Let's also add the filters. We have regions, and we also have country in the filters. So that's why we drag them to the filters window. So let's see what is selected and what is not. So first let's change the labels. This has to be item. This one is month. Okay. So if you look here, also month is filtered, and we only have from the months of June to December. So if I click here, I only need to select or put a check mark next to these months. For the region, you want to only look at the Americanos. Americas. Okay, let's only look at that. And for the countries, I kind of did this random. Um, so it doesn't show it on the multiple items part. So you might get different numbers. But I think what I have selected were Argentina and Australia. So we're gonna end up seeing something like this. Okay, so the next question. Again, click on the table somewhere, go to pivot table, existing worksheet. Oops, existing worksheet. And let's place it somewhere around here. Um, okay, so I have country on the rows. Do I have country? No, I don't have country. That's a mistake that I have on the title. Wow. I have regions on the rows and I have months on the columns. Values are count of items. Let's bring them here, count of items. So this guy is region. This per oh, what's happening? Month. What else? What else do we have? Okay, the only difference right now is that here I have actual values, but my table, the screenshot shows percent as the grand total. So we can also change this. So again, right click on the count of items, go to the field settings, and now click on show data as. Where you see no calculations, change that to percent of grand total. Okay, and there you go. Here we have percent of grand total. And we also want to create 100% a stacked column chart. So let's go to pivot table analyze. And when you do this on Microsoft or when you do this on a Windows computer, when you click on pivot chart, it prompts you to select your chart type. Mac doesn't do that, so we need to go back to the design tab and change our chart type. So I'm going to change these cluster columns to 100% stacked chart. And there you go. This is our graph. That's it. Have a good night. Bye.